being here.
Greetings, everyone. Good evening, and welcome back to the Ambassadorial Wing. I am, of course, your host, the Ambassador, and hope that you all are having a great Saturday night. Hope you're having a really good weekend. For me, it is the start of my weekend. I've got the next couple of days off from work, and happy to be back with you all once again for another installment of Ambassadorial R&D reaction and discussion. And tonight, we will be continuing our review of Season 1 of Book of Boba Fett. And as always, if this is your first visit to the Ambassadorial Wing, make sure you smash that like button. Share this out with all your Star Wars universe fans and friends, and tell them, hey, the party is over on the Ambassadorial Wing this evening. And as always, I do not do this show alone. I have got a very wonderful group of fellow ambassadors, people I regard as friends as well. And I've got with me tonight, you know him, you love him, he's wacky, and he's very opinionated. But here, we always appreciate that sort of thing. Give a very warm welcome to Ambassador Zach Leary.
What's up, folks? How's everybody doing out there?
Zach, good to see you, man.
Good to see you, man. Thank you for the support on the videos. It's much appreciated.
Hey, of course, as always. So, you've been doing a lot of good work, and I very much approve of it and appreciate it. So, keep it up, man. And to everybody that's in the chat, well, we've got a handful of Joshes, Josh of Order of Revan, and Josh of Galactic Republic Gaming. Gentlemen, good evening. Good to see you both, and thank you for popping in. And Josh is like, I was 20 minutes early, and you were 5 minutes late. I wasn't that late. Regardless of what StreamYard has to say, their timer is different from my timer. So, but this evening, as I said, we're going to be doing a breakdown of Book of Boba Fett, and then we'll just kind of see where the rest of the evening goes. But Zach, I am your host. You are my guest. Where would you like to begin? I mean, obviously, we're going to be talking Book of Boba Fett, but what were your thoughts on this week's episode?
Let's just go with initial thoughts first. Let's just try that.
Sure. Okay.
I'll keep it pretty short for my initial thoughts. I want to preface because I have some criticism of the show, as you know, but I like it. I think it's got kind of its own unique flavor going, although it's clearly a brother series or, spiritual successor to Mandalorian. They're very similar.
Yes, I would agree.
But having said that, it's kind of got its own thing going on too.
Yeah.
I think Tamara Morrison is really a charismatic actor. So we've got that. He seems like a cool guy and does a great job with Boba Fett. So Fennec, I like. I like the scenario, the situation that they have. But again, I mean, these flashbacks are getting tedious, man.
And, I do understand where you're coming from, because here's the thing. Well, I do like story that is told in flashback. It can get a bit, as you said, tedious. I think that is a very appropriate response to that. And just a quick shout to the chat, CJ, it's good to see you. And hey, Josh of Galactic Republic Gaming, Josh, I just sent you the link and everything on Twitter. So whenever you want to hop on in here, the link's there for you, bud. So, and also Price is Right Reviews. Price, is good to see you. Appreciate you being here tonight. So,
I like that
and here's
name.
Price is Right Review.
Name.
I've known Price for a while. He's somebody that I met over on another a fellow channel and everything, and he's a really solid guy. So really, he has some really good takes. So let's see. Price is right. Watching my girlfriend's cheeseheads take on the 49ers playoff. What's your thing? What do you think of the Power Rangers chasing? I think he's referring to last week's episode with Book of Boba Fett. Honestly, Price, that whole sequence didn't bother me. I really enjoyed it, and and here's the thing. I kind of said my piece on that last week. I'll keep it short. I like the little wink and nod, the homage to the classic cars of the past, in particular the Vespa speeder or scooter and everything. And it's obviously a wink and a nod to GL, the big GL, George Lucas. So, because he is a big classic car aficionado, and I imagine he has his own fair share of collection and everything. But I also want to give another warm welcome to another regular here on the Ambassadorial Wing, Mr. Josh of Galactic Republic Gaming. Josh, good evening.
Notice
good
something
evening, sir.
different?
Yeah, you got yourself a headset. It looks like you're on a computer again, just on your phone.
Yep, my internet just came back today.
Excellent. Outstanding, my friend. Very, very good to see you. And good to see you clearly. So, but yeah, Price, that's kind of that's my take on that whole speeder chase from the last episode. But getting back to what you were saying, Zach, like I said, I can understand where the flashbacks do get tedious. I think what they were trying to do, I think there could have been better ways that they could have addressed the whole flashback or how they structured the flashbacks for the series. Perhaps have them more as dream sequences rather than him just being in the back to tank every single time. But also, I think maybe they could have condensed a few things in terms of all that, and made it a little more streamlined for us. We didn't need to know everything that happened before Boba got to where he was in The Mandalorian. But at the same time, I don't see everything that they did as a waste of time.
No, neither do I.
So, but it could have been structured better. Josh, go ahead.
We do now have a more clear timeline, though, of when exactly, when did Boba...
Josh, you muted yourself.
My headset came unplugged. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Go ahead.
When all of this stuff happened, we have a more clear timeline of when he hooked up with the Tuskens, when the biker gang showed up, when the Pikes and all that.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
Now, so, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Josh. You're fine.
So, I'm gonna go ahead and assume that maybe he was only out for a couple of months tops before we see him in The Mandalorian.
Potentially, yeah, because here's the thing. For those of you that may not, and now Josh, I think you're a little more up on your Star Wars lore than maybe. And no offense to you, Zach, this. It's not meant as offense. A lot of people get a lot more deeper into the lore than others. Bacta, as a healing agent in the Star Wars universe, it does take time. It's not immediate, and it's a long, drawn out process. And obviously, by the point of this episode, we have that droid saying, "Boba Fett, Master Boba or Master Fett, you are now completely healed." So, I would imagine we will no longer have these flashback sequences. I think pretty much at this point, we're going to be sticking for the last 3 or 4 episodes of this season in the current time period. There won't be any more flashbacks.
I doubt
going forward, because
I'm going to bet otherwise on that one.
Oh, you think we might have some more flashbacks?
If I had to place a bet, I would place, we'll probably have a couple more. Maybe not gigantic ones like the one we had this episode, but
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I think the perfect flashback that I've really seen are the little snippets of like a 1 minute, just showing us frames. But see, like for me, the problem is that it's kind of you have, if you're doing a flashback, it has to be relevant, right? So him getting his ship back to me was kind of irrelevant, but seeing him and kind of gaining an understanding of Boba Fett's trauma is interesting, right? With the death of his dad and with Camino, stuff like that. But him getting back his ship just didn't really do anything for me. It's a fun action sequence, but is it a waste of our time?
I could see where you are coming from on that, Zach. For me, I see it as fan service. Do I see it as unnecessary fan service? Speaking for myself, no. But for others, I can understand where it would be. It could be seen as a waste of time. I think for me, I look at it this way. Boba getting his ship back is him reclaiming part of his identity, also reclaiming part of his past. Because if you think about it, that ship is the last tie, except for maybe his armor, to his father, Django.
Yeah, but it wasn't connected in that way. See, if they would have done it like you said, I think it would have worked a little bit better.
Well, and and that's the thing. The question becomes how many callbacks do you give? Now, granted, we've had, for those that watched Attack of the Clones, that know the connection that Boba has to Slave One, and obviously his armor. Now, obviously, we see Mandalorian that he got his armor back. At this point, we already know that he has a ship back, but what did he have to go through to get his ship back? We obviously know this now. Now, I think also what we have in this episode is Boba forming his first major, well, maybe his second major alliance, but this is an alliance that will stick. And that is, of course, with Fennec Shand, Ming-Na Wen's character. And it's been a long time, I think, since Boba has been able to trust someone to the extent that he's trusting Fennec. And the way he regards her as a master assassin, that's high praise coming from someone of Boba Fett's status. I mean, he himself was regarded as I would guess you would say, a master bounty hunter. He was probably one of the most profitable, feared, respected bounty hunters in the galaxy. I mean, even Vader himself, when Vader regard you as one of the best, even though he may not necessarily come out right and say it. But when Vader or even the Empire regards Fett as one of the most well-respected bounty hunters around, that's no small thing. And again, how much do you put into the series where it doesn't become like fan service? And how much do you include? And for me, as a fan of this character and as a fan of this universe, I didn't necessarily see any of it as a waste, but at the same time, I do understand where everybody's coming from with how the narrative has been structured. I do get that. So, Josh, Zach, your thoughts?
I'm gonna be a bit of a median on the whole flashback thing. I kind of agree with Ambassador that we're not going to see nearly as much of it, but I also at the same time kind of agree with Zach that there will be maybe some 1-2 minute flashback sequences, like during a cut scene, during like a scene where he's talking to someone explaining something, it'll like flash back to that happening.
So, and that's entirely possible too. Now, getting into the episode itself, obviously, this is a rather lengthy episode. I think it's like the second longest episode of the series thus far. I think episode 2 was the longest, but I think in this instance, it needed to be this long because of everything that we get in this episode. Because obviously, the last episode, we got the major conflict, and that is, of course, the Pikes coming to Tatooine. For what reason, we don't know specifically. But we also get now Boba either having that meeting with all of Jabba the Hutt's former lieutenants who have carved out their own little empires, their own little fiefdoms there on Tatooine, or in particular in Mos Espa. And he's like, either you can stand with me or at least get out of the way so I can do what I have to do to protect our world. And because he does regard Tatooine as quote unquote his world, because Jabba the Hutt had claim over Tatooine. That was one of probably many worlds that Jabba had under his thumb in his criminal empire. And now you've got somebody that's wanting to crowd in. So obviously we are getting a crime war. And this will be something else I'm going to bring up later in the stream and everything. It's another topic and everything that I want to discuss with all of you in the chat and whoever's still here and everything, because I know, Zach, you've got to leave later and everything in the stream. So, but, obviously we're getting a crime war in the Star Wars universe. And this is something that we've never really seen before. And honestly, it's something that I am very excited to see, because up until now, except for maybe one or two movies and so on, the majority of Star Wars has always been focused around the Skywalker family or dealing with the Jedi and the Sith and the Force and so on. And I honestly like the fact that they're using the character of Boba Fett, who does have a history within the organized crime aspect of the Star Wars universe, to explore this whole dynamic. And I mean, now again, I still have not had an opportunity to watch Solo, which I still want to, and everything. I never really got a chance to check it out way back when and everything.
Not this much.
I still want to check it out. That's just me.
All right.
It's Star Wars. That's just me. It's Star Wars. I at least want to give it a shot. I mean, it has to be better than The Last Jedi, but that's a discussion.
I don't think it is.
Okay.
But that's Zach, okay. It's all right. Yeah. It's nothing special.
Hey, I get that too. So, but guys, let me ask you, how do you feel about them introducing the dynamic or the whole concept of a crime war in the Star Wars universe? Do you think it's something that's good? Do you think it's something that's kind of meh, or do you think it's something that's just blatantly bad? Josh, you're muted, bud. I think you can.
How am I?
There you go.
There you go, bud. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I think the crime war thing is something that we've been kind of missing in Star Wars, because we know crime wars, those are a thing that happen in the background in Star Wars. We know that with in Solo, you haven't watched it yet, but in Solo, when they're at the Crimson Dawn place, the head of the Crimson Dawn says, we have no relations with the Pikes, meaning the Pikes, meaning the Shadow Collective has disbanded at this point. The Pikes are no longer an ally to the Crimson Dawn. But a crime war, those are in the background, and I think them bringing it to the forefront of this series is a good move, honestly.
Zach, your thoughts?
It's all about how you portray it. It's got to be, we've got to have that brutality factor. To me, you could really do something interesting if you have that brutality. Jabba the Hutt had brutality. Dropping people into the Rancor pit, that's a pretty creepy thing to do, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, and even in the way it's shot and framed, I mean, we've got that meeting of them at that meeting at Jabba's palace with all the, the heads of the families,
the captains.
first day.
Yeah.
why was it not shot in kind of a creepy, shadowy way? Instead, these guys did not intimidate me one bit. Right? These don't look like feared crime leaders. Shoot them with some backlight and shoot them like Colonel Kurtz in Apocalypse
Now.
Right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
make them creepy. Make them creepy. Have them kill some people. Have some brutality. Have some intrigue. I mean, if you're going to go down that road, do it right.
And I do hear what you're saying, Zach. I cannot say I just necessarily disagree with that. You want to make these characters intimidating. You want to make them menacing. The right lighting, the right cinematography can definitely do that. I wholeheartedly agree with you. And
you could give them glowing eyes too, right? You remember that guy, that guy with the red eyes from the cantina?
Oh,
in New Hope,
the Deveronian guy.
Oh,
with the glowing red eyes. Give me some red eyes, some creepy, shadowy stuff.
I get what, Zach. I think I get. I think I know who you're referring to. Yeah,
and Han frozen in carbonite is creepy as fuck too. Okay, so
yes.
One thing
I will say. Go ahead, Josh.
One thing, a couple of things I will mention is, first off, the guy at the end of the table, he kind of looks like those dudes that we see in the Black Sun in the Clone Wars. And secondly, I do like that they were kind of just meeting, like sitting right over where the Rancor is.
The Rancor pit. Now, I was actually about to bring that up. I do have to admit, I did like when the Rancor reached his claw up through the grating and like, hey everybody, I'm down here and I will eat you if you threaten my dad or threaten my master, whichever way you want to frame it. So that for me, I think that right there set the entire idea of, okay, Boba Fett's showing his teeth now. He's getting into a position. He's gotten into a position where he can actually show some teeth. I think he still wants to go the aspect of ruling through respect, but at the same time, I think he's also thinking to himself, yeah, I need to kind of bring out the whole I will kill you if I have to aspect of his character. So,
and when it comes to the ruling through respect is something he's going to get quite a bit of after he fights the Pikes off.
Oh, I was just chuckling at a comment that Zach put in the private chat. Zach, that's not bad. I wish we could actually do that in the game. I wish they had put something like that in the anniversary edition of the game. So,
the ability to purchase a Rancor.
Well, have some sort of, maybe not a Rancor, but maybe have a pit that has like some frost or cave trolls in it that if somebody ticks you off, you drop them into your little cave troll pit and they get eaten.
Well, we do have a torture chamber in the Dark Brotherhood stronghold.
That is true. That is very, very true. So, but here's the other thing, and this
Did you ever do a Skyrim review, by the way?
Honestly, I've never really done any video game reviews, but that's something that I'm going to be doing this year on the channel. I'm going to be going through gaming through the decades. I'm going to be starting in the 80s, going through the 90s, and into the current era. And Skyrim will definitely be in the current era. So because I've been kind of wanting to get back to the nuts and bolts, the meat and potatoes of where my channel started, and that was doing a lot more retro review content. I've honestly kind of missed it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love talking about the more current stuff as well. But there's a part of me that has really been aching to get back into that particular wheelhouse of my channel. So, but
Did you ever play Half-Life?
I never have. I never had the opportunity.
All right.
Just real quick, the thing is, Zach, up until like 2000 and 2007, 2008ish, I did not have a next gen console. My first next gen console was the Gen 1 Xbox. Up until then,
I had one of those.
So
I had one of those.
Yeah, I love that. I love that console. I love that console to death. But that's another topic for another time. Josh, go ahead.
Commando.
I just noticed something, by the way. From what I've heard, when the Kenobi series comes out, from what I've heard, if we do R&D on
we will.
We're gonna have a lot to talk about because I heard the episodes of Kenobi are gonna be like pretty much feature length.
Wow, I'm good with that. I'm very good with that. So, and I have honestly been looking forward to the Kenobi series for a while, and ever since they attached Deborah Chow, who did a lot of the, I think, of what people regard as some of the really top notch episodes for Mandalorian seasons 1 and 2. Once they attached her to it, I was like, okay, this is in the hands of somebody who knows what the hell they're doing. So and of course you got Ewan McGregor to come back, and of course obviously you've got Hayden Christensen in whatever capacity that he's going to be in the show itself as well. So yeah, I'm definitely will be when Kenobi drops, we'll definitely be doing some R&Ds on those as well.
Yeah,
so.
Well, that guy, I've never seen him again after Star Wars, basically.
Who, Hayden Christensen?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. He tried to do some other roles. He's done some smaller, indie roles and so on. But other than that, he's kind of stayed away from like the larger IP work that a lot of actors do. That's and that's the interesting thing. And this kind of can tie into what we're discussing now with Boba Fett. Ever since Temuera Morrison got tapped back in the early 2000s to play the role of Jango Fett, he's pretty much stayed as a constant part of the Star Wars universe. I had my small issue with the changing of Boba Fett's voice from Empire to when they did the special edition update where they changed the voice over to Temuera Morrison, the Temuera Morrison dub for Boba. But
I agree with you there. You've got what was his name? Wingreen did the original, and he had kind of that creepy, gravelly, put him in the cargo hole, creep like in the back of his throat kind of voice.
Captain Solo in the cargo hold.
He means a lot to me, right? He kind of sounded like
I agree. But here's the thing too. I understand it in terms of continuity. I mean, I and that's the thing. I have the non-specialized versions of the original trilogy on DVD. I can watch those anytime I want to. I also have the updates. So, but I understand it in terms of continuity. But here's the other good thing. Temuera Morrison has had a lot of support and a lot of love from the Star Wars community, and I think this series has just very much solidified that support and our confidence in him playing this role. And I know a lot of people have had the criticism, well, when the hell are we going to see Boba Fett throw down like he did in that episode from season 2 of The Mandalorian? My theory is this. I imagine we will see him throw down in these last 3 or 4 episodes. I can't remember. Is it 8 or 7 episodes?
I think
7 episodes. So we've got 3 episodes to go. My guess is within these 3 episodes, we're going to start to see him throw down again, especially when they get into the war with the Pikes. You're going to see Boba Fett. We're going to see the Boba Fett we've been wanting to see, that we've been praying to see, that we actually got to see a glimpse of in this episode, particularly when him and Fennec infiltrate Jabba's palace to get his ship back, and also when he gets his ship back and he goes after the speeder gang. And he just absolutely, completely nukes him from orbit. And I was like, thank you. That, for me, was very, very visceral. You see the expression on his face, and he's just like, okay, yeah, you took out my tribe. Now I'm going to take you out. And it was beautiful. It was brutal. It was satisfying. I think not just for the character, but also for us as an audience to see Boba Fett finally throw down. Granted, it's not him going full tilt on a bunch of stormtroopers, but it was still pretty freaking kick-ass.
Have you guys seen that video of Tamara disagreeing with the director of the show?
I can't say that I have. I didn't even know there was
Can,
one.
can we pull that up? It's not that long.
Yeah, give me a minute.
Let me get you a link. I'll find you a link.
I'll look for it on my end too. So no, I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know there was a
very enlightening. But we got kind of a fight between him and New Baka.
Black Chrysanthemum. I actually, I was not the least bit surprised that that Boba was like, "Hey, you want a job? I need some muscle." And let's be candid here, Black Chrysanthemum, he is muscle. So,
yeah. Do you think Chrysanthemum's gonna take? Wait, no. Chrysanthemum did take him up on that offer.
Yeah,
because we see him in the meeting, standing. But one thing I do say is Tamara Morrison, you mentioned, has been a constant part of Star Wars. Well, actually, since Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, he's actually voice acted Boba and Jango in various games as well. So
various games. I mean, obviously, he played a big part in Battlefront 2 and everything with the whole voiceover work for that particular game, because the campaign is essentially from the point of view of a clone trooper going through the latter stages of the Clone Wars into Order 66 and post into the original trilogy timeline. So,
was that actually Tim that did that? The original?
Yes. Yeah, that was Tamara Morrison that did the voiceover work.
That.
Yeah. Well, and obviously, now the only thing he didn't do the voice work for was Bad Batch. Now, don't get me wrong, the guy that they had do the voice work for Bad Batch, he did a very well, and also for the Clone Wars, he did a very solid job. So, Zach, I can't seem to find that link, so whenever you find it or anything, just drop in the private chat.
Seems to have mysteriously been erased from the internet. I'm trying to find it.
Huh.
Here we go. I mean, look at that. Is it not bizarre that we can't even find that? Here we go. Found one on Twitter.
Okay. All right. Just if you want to drop it in the private chat.
Yep.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
It's not a giant criticism or anything, but
it's kind of small.
It's interesting.
I gotcha. Okay, hang on. Let me pause this. All right. Screen share.
It seems like a little bit, a sliver, maybe 5%. Mark Hamill 2.0. A little bit, just a sliver, just a smidge.
Yeah, and I get that too. Again, everybody's going to have their issues, and that's there's nothing inherently wrong with that. So, but let's hear what Mr. Morrison had to say. Let me back her up here so we get the full context.
I was hoping not to say as much as I have already in the first 2 episodes. I speak far too much. In fact, in the beginning, I was trying to get past my lines onto Ming Na. And I always said, excuse me, director, I really feel that Ming Na should say these lines because I want to stay mysterious. Right. I want to stay quiet.
But then I caught on. He wasn't just trying to be a very generous actor, which he is. He was just kind of parlay the work.
Yeah, sharing his responsibility. So yeah, but and even when obviously John's one of the key writers. So sometimes I'd always say I think this is too much. I think this is too much. Then I'd go to what's the other guy's name? Noah. Try and get.
Oh, Noah. Yes, Noah. Mm-hmm.
I remember, of course, John actually went away to Atlanta, so I rang Noah that night and I said, Noah, the scene tomorrow. I'm talking too much. This Boba doesn't talk this much. Look, I've got all these paragraphs here. I think we should get rid of it. and John's gone to Atlanta, so don't tell him. And then next minute that morning on Twitter, I get a call from Atlanta. John wants you to say all the dialogue.
Okay, and I'm going to say this. I don't particularly care for how this guy, Dead Eraser, framed this.
I was hoping not to say as much.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, I agree. He's trying to play it into his own narrative.
Yeah. I think so. I think with what Tamora Morrison was saying here was, and I think they were being I think that he was being somewhat playful with Ming Na Wen, and vice versa. She was as well. But here's the thing: in terms of the character of Boba Fett, up until now, we have not heard him speak this much. But at the same time, his role was very minimal, so he wasn't going to say all that much either. In this particular instance, he is the focus of the show. He is the focus of the story, so he is going to have more dialogue. So I understand where Tamora Morrison's coming from, but at the same time, I understand what the storytellers are trying to do as well. You can't have Boba in his helmet and him not speak because we don't know we can't see his facial expressions. Now you can do a whole lot with the facial expression. Don't get me wrong. It's called non-dialogue driven storytelling. But at the same time, if you can't see his face because he's always got his helmet on, it's not going to work for the narrative. It's not going to work for the story. So for me, it's just, I get where everybody's coming from, but again, I think this was, I think that whole interview or that clip right there, they were playing it up a bit. I don't think Tamora Morrison was having a Mark Hamill moment like Mark Hamill was having for The Last Jedi.
I'll just say this: what pinged on my radar was, "Excuse me, director," right? When she tries to jump in and prevent him from saying what he wanted to say. That was the only thing that was a ping for me.
Yeah.
And going off that same thing you were just saying, Ambassador, with the armor on, his body language is also harder to read.
That is true too. Yeah. So, honestly, I will say this. I know people have had their criticisms of the series thus far. I get that. Everybody's going to have their critiques, or people are going to have their takes on this. That's all fair. I'm definitely, once all the episodes are available to watch back to back to back, I'm definitely going to go back and rewatch this. I may even do a follow-up on this and kind of say, okay, here's what we've got. Okay, Zach, let me get this last little bit out, and then I'll let you have your final say before you have to run. So I'm definitely going to I want to do a follow-up on this once we have seen the full story, or at least this first season, and kind of give you all my thoughts on it. So, Zach, any final thoughts before you have to go? The floor is yours.
Yeah, Book of Boba Fett, so far so good. With I think some flaws. It's not a perfect show, but I don't think Mandalorian was perfect either. So
yeah,
it all comes down to these, the final episodes. If you can give us a good conclusion to the first series, then I think we have something here. But I mean, I would say a botched finale, is not very desirable, obviously. So
yeah,
we'll see, guys.
Yeah. So, hey Zach, thank you for popping in tonight, man, and you have a good night and a good weekend, and we'll catch you on the flip side. So.
Yep, sounds good, man. Take care. See you, Josh.
See ya. Have a good one.
So, and I want to send a shout out to the chat, Michael S. Michael, it has been a minute. Good to see you, man, and appreciate you popping in. We've been giving our so. Let's see. Book of Boba Fett episode 4 was great. Yeah, Michael. Here's the thing. I don't want to just play the fanboy part of this. As much as I love this, I have enjoyed the series. And I very much have enjoyed this series. I want to give an honest critique as well. And I want to give everybody else a chance to give their own critique and everything, give their thoughts on it, and not have them feel like they can't speak their piece and be truthful. Do I think that this has been a pitch perfect series from start to finish? No, it hasn't. But has it been solid? Has it been entertaining? From my point of view, yes, it has. I have enjoyed the series. I have enjoyed this deep dive into this character that we have known next to nothing about. And I honestly, I appreciate the effort. I appreciate the work that they have put into the series thus far. And that for me is the important thing. Has the journey been entertaining? Has it been fun? And with Book of Boba Fett, yes, it has. So, the other thing for me is I have to look at this from the perspective of a Star Wars fan. And I ask myself, does this add or detract from my enjoyment of the universe? And my answer is no. I think this very much adds to my enjoyment of this universe. It fleshes out the universe in an aspect that we haven't considered before, much in the same way that Rogue One gave us a different perspective into the Star Wars universe that we have never really gotten to see before. We never got to see the Galactic Civil War from the aspect of the troops on the ground. Not from the big characters, not from the big people that we have had connections with before. And with Book of Boba Fett, as I said before, this gives us a different look into the Star Wars universe that we have not had an opportunity to see. And that is in terms of the angle of organized crime. So, and I'll bring up your comment here, Michael S. So, Josh, I did have like one or two other topics I did want to discuss tonight. I did want to ask you, how boned up on the MCU are you?
I'm not fully caught up, but I have watched everything that came prior to Hawkeye and No Way Home and stuff like that.
Okay. Did you see Shang-Chi? That's one question I'll ask you.
No, I haven't seen Shang-Chi yet.
Okay. Okay, so I may have to give you a little bit of a lead on this one, and that's okay. This is something. Go ahead, Josh.
Before we swap over topics, I'm going to say, perfection isn't real. You said to me a few months ago, art is
subjective.
And I think thus far, Book of Boba Fett has been executed beautifully. It's been done to the best of the creator's abilities and to the best of the actor's abilities, and they are not pulling any punches, and I like that for Star Wars. That's it.
And Michael S., I've got your comments here, and yeah, I do agree. He's like, I still have my problems with the show. Thank you. But it's been overall solid so far, and episodes 2 and 4 are downright great. Episodes 1 and 3 need work, though. Personally, episode 2 of Boba Fett is some of the best Star Wars in a while, but episode 3 was personally weak. And Michael, I understand where you're coming from. So, and I do appreciate your insight, bud. Truly. The other topic I did want to discuss tonight, and this is a theory that I've been piecing together over the last few weeks. Well, actually, it's been a little bit longer than a few weeks, but it's something that came to my mind when I saw, when I watched Hawkeye, and also with Spider-Man No Way Home. Now, without going into major spoilers, and Josh, I don't know how much you've heard or haven't heard in terms of No Way Home. Were you aware that Matt Murdock, aka the Daredevil, made an appearance in No Way Home?
I have heard something about that. Yeah.
You did hear that. Okay. All right. And had you, I don't want to spoil anything for you, but had you heard that the Kingpin makes an appearance in the season finale of Hawkeye?
No, but I kind of expected that he might be involved somehow.
Okay, all right. So it isn't a huge spoiler that if I tell you that he does make an appearance. So and
No.
he is a major part of the season of the finale. Okay. All right. Well, then I will go ahead and bring this up here, and I will probably, and Michael, thank you. Appreciate that. So, and also Michael, Zach Leary, Ambassador Leary, and everything. He has a channel as well. It's under his name, and he's done some really good, insightful videos over the last few weeks and everything. He doesn't do constant content because he does a lot of work on his stuff, which I do respect. I'm gonna get back into doing the same thing. Y'all are gonna still see live streams from me, but I'm also gonna start doing more upload content for my channel and everything that I haven't really had the time to do in the most recently, because my life last year was an absolute buzzsaw from one end to the other. But you're going to be seeing more upload content from me, not just live streaming and everything. Though don't get me wrong, I love doing the live streams. I love talking with y'all live here, discussing this stuff. But I've got some stuff in the works that I want to, that I'm going to be bringing to y'all as well. But I'll just bring up this image. Give me just a second. This is something I made. This isn't something somebody else made or somebody else did and everything. So just bear with me for a minute. Okay, here we go. So, okay.
General Grievous.
So, this is a question that I'm going to posit. This is a theory that I have. Is a crime war brewing in the MCU? So, as you can see, I've got the major players who I think might be potentially the major players for this crime war in the MCU. Of course, obviously, you've got. Let me switch windows real quick here. You've got Wilson. You've got the Kingpin Wilson Fisk here in the middle. You've got Shang-Chi's character Zayling here. You've got Sharon Carter, aka the Power Broker from Falcon and Winter Soldier. You've got Echo, Maya Lopez. You've obviously got the Daredevil, and I've also included Spider-Man. The reason why I feel like they're going to be going down the route of a crime war in the MCU is these are the pieces I see on the board at this time in the MCU. With the return of the Kingpin and obviously of Matt Murdock, you've got Spider-Man that's probably going to be going back to more of his crime fighter roots rather than the big sweeping adventures that we've had of him lately. Obviously, you've got the introduction of the 10 Rings from Shang-Chi. You've got Power Broker from Falcon and Winter Soldier. And you've got, like I said, Maya Lopez, a.k.a. Echo. And apparently, as far as I know, her series is still coming down the road for Disney+.
Reintroduction of the 10 Rings, I will say. They were in the first Iron Man movie.
Yeah, well, here's the thing too. I think maybe that was an identity that was borrowed more so than was actually the 10 Rings proper. I don't think that particular group was attached to Wenwu's group and everything specifically. That's just a theory. Well, Michael, here's the thing. I don't see this as the main storyline. Obviously, the multiverse conflict is going to be the main storyline for the MCU going forward. But I see this as possibly a storyline that's running concurrently. So, for the MCU, I see them doing this alongside the multiversal war, which will be popping off with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and obviously also with Loki. We saw the kind of the beginnings of that, and we also saw it, and we saw hints at it in obviously Venom Let There Be Carnage. We also saw it in Spider-Man No Way Home. So that's kind of where I'm at with this and everything. But Josh, what do you think? Do you think this is something that this might be leaning into? And if
I think so, because isn't Matt Murdock a lawyer in his
yeah,
normal life?
well, yeah, he actually that's the role he plays in Spider-Man No Way Home. He's Matt Murdock is a lawyer, but his alternate identity is the Daredevil, obviously. And they them having the actor who played Daredevil from the Netflix series or the Netflix Marvel series, and having him make an appearance in No Way Home, I think is them canonizing that particular Daredevil into the MCU. And then, of course, you've got Wilson Fisk, aka the Kingpin, being reintroduced in Hawkeye. I think even potentially Hawkeye and Kate Bishop could have a part to play in this crime war. But I think the crime war is going to be between or among Fisk, Zayling, and Sharon Carter, aka the Power Broker. So that's the reason I include these particular heroes or these characters is obviously you're going to have some heroes that are going to deal with this. And I think these are the heroes that would be the best suited for it. Now, you could see Falcon and Winter Soldier play a part in this potentially, considering you've got Sharon Carter here. But
I feel like if there is a crime war, we could potentially maybe see more Ronin Hawkeye.
Well, no, because here's the thing. Josh, you'll need to watch Hawkeye, but they kind of they kind of wrap that particular aspect of Clint's journey up. I would really encourage you go watch Hawkeye when you have the time and the means to do so. I did my reviews of it. I did my and everything. I really enjoyed the series overall, and I think watching it all as one solid from start to finish, it will make a lot more sense. And want to send a shout out to the chat, MB Geek of MB Geeks Let's Talk. It's good to see you, bud. Appreciate it. You might be wondering, why am I not talking about Book of Boba Fett, Geek? Me and Zach and Josh, we kind of wrapped that conversation up and everything. You'll have to rewind a little bit or catch us on the replay. Now, I want to offer a very strong disclaimer. This is a theory of my own. I do not have any links or sources or anything else of the kind to anybody on the production of anything involved with the MCU. This is solely a theory, nothing more, but it is I think a very well constructed, and at least I like to believe it's a very well constructed theory.
I feel like
go ahead, Josh, please.
I feel like if you haven't already, or if you aren't already working on it, I feel like you should do like a more in-depth video into your theory. Like
I very well may, or I may just put out what I'm thinking here, and then I'll just clip this out and I'll upload it that way too. Honestly, here's the thing. When it comes to comic books, you want a lot of different storylines running concurrently so that your audience doesn't get bored. Because here's the thing, not everybody is going to be interested in the more mystical or cosmic elements of the MCU or of the Marvel universe, if you want to put it in the framework of a comic book line. People, a comic book company is going to is like a buffet. You pick out what you want, you leave the rest. So for people that might be more interested in the more street level and grounded adventures and stories surrounding characters like Daredevil, like Spider-Man, like Echo, and like these other villains and everything, whether you regard Zayling from Shang-Chi as a villain or you regard her as potentially an anti-hero or whatever. And then, of course, with Kingpin and Sharon Carter, you could see them more as your pure bad guys or your villains. you want to appeal to as broad a audience base as you possibly can. And I personally, I like the idea of a crime war in the MCU. I mean, obviously, we just spent time talking about a crime war in the Star Wars universe, and I did toss this idea out to a few people privately to get their takes on it and everything, and some of them said, "Yeah, I'm okay with this idea." And others were like, "Well, wouldn't it be a little bit redundant for them to do a crime war both in Star Wars and in the MCU?" I could see where you might think that, but here's the thing: it's two different
They're
dynamics.
different properties.
Well, different properties, but also different dynamics at play. Because if we look at a crime war from the aspect of Book of Boba Fett, we would regard Boba as potentially an anti-hero who we are kind of rooting for. Whereas with the crime war in the MCU, we're going to definitely be rooting for the heroes to end this crime war. And the question is, how successful are they going to be in that? Because if you look at the real life dynamic of organized crime, we've never really been able to get rid of it. And it makes life, I don't want to say I'm endorsing organized crime or violence that's involved in organized crime. I most certainly am not. But at the same time, it makes for interesting stories. So I'll bring up your comment here, Geek. Give me just 1 second. I had thought the next level of the MCU was going to multiverse. I said that and people got pissed at me for that, for what I thought. Well, Geek, unfortunately, you have an opinion, people are going to push back on it, and it sucks. Now, personally, I don't have I never had a problem with the whole concept of the multiversal story arc in the MCU. I was all for it because here's the reason why. It presents a new dynamic. We're not going after a big MacGuffin like we were with the Infinity Saga phases 1 through 3 for the MCU. In this particular dynamic, or this particular saga, it's a conflict across the Marvel multiverse and everything that entails. Not to mention, it's giving Marvel the opportunity, and I this is a position I have long held, and it's something I still feel is going to is going to happen. Them introducing the concept of the multiverse is the most straightforward way for them to bring characters like the Fantastic Four and mutants, aka the X-Men, into the main MCU continuity. And I am all for that.
And
I always have been because go ahead, Josh.
Actually, that was gonna be something I was gonna say. Is I think the multiversal route is somewhere the MCU has been planning to go for a long time because Disney and Marvel Studios, they now have the rights to the Sony, the Fox, all of the other Marvel characters like the X-Men and Fantastic Four.
Let me clarify one thing for you. Marvel and Sony are sharing rights with Spider-Man. Now, Disney does have full rights to both Fantastic Four and to X-Men since the whole purchase of Fox Studios and so on. So, but Josh, that's just a small minor thing. So, and I'll bring up your comment here, Geek. Give me a second. I enjoy Book of Boba Fett. I am a big EU fan. Same here, bud. This show is for this show is for new EU is doing good. Yeah, Geek, I wholeheartedly agree with you. So, but you know, as I said, you want to present as many storylines for your audience as you potentially can. I think that's what Marvel Studios is doing. Now, I've heard, there's going to be some delays with the next season of What If. Obviously, this is because of the surge with this current variant of the COVID virus. And I understand that. And that for me isn't a big issue because you want to you have to take into consideration the health and safety of the people working on these shows. So I don't see this as a big to do or some signs that there's trouble at Marvel Studios or anything along those lines. I will say it this way. Until I hear an official report that Disney is having issues with what Kevin Feige is doing, I'm going to assume that the ship is running, or the train is on the tracks and it is running smoothly and everybody is happy. So, you know, and to kind of put another point out there, I know Eternals wasn't as well received as a lot of the other properties were last year in terms of Marvel. I mean, obviously Shang-Chi did exceedingly well. The streaming series that they put out on Disney Plus were very well received. Obviously, Spider-Man No Way Home has been a resounding success. I very much enjoyed Eternals. I look forward to watching it again. I'm probably going to watch it again at some point, but I want to watch it with Madam Ambassador because I want to share that experience with her. And now that it's on Disney Plus, we can do so. But I get that not everything is going to appeal to everyone in the Marvel fandom.
Yeah.
So that's why this is, for me, this image I've got up here is simply a theory. I'm positing a theory, nothing more. Would I like to see this? Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I would love to see this. And, because I love a good crime story. I have always loved a good crime story. That's why I'm going to be, in a month or so and everything, I'm going to be doing a retro review stream, on a favorite film of mine from the 1980s. And that is, of course, Scarface with Al Pacino. I love that movie. And I definitely want to do some research on it because I want to bring y'all the best possible stream and everything, and have a lot of good factoids and a lot of good information for you. So you're going to be seeing a little bit of a focus on fictional organized crime on the Ambassadorial Wing over the next few weeks. So, but yeah, that for me is the big thing. So let me pop this down here. Let me just 1 second. So, but honestly, guys, I will say this, just my last little thoughts on Book of Boba Fett. I hope they can stick the landing. I don't see any reason why they can't. They won't be able to stick the landing, but again, we'll have to wait and see how they do. So, Josh, any other thoughts or anything on what we discussed, or anything that you want to bring up yourself? So,
my final thoughts on the Book of Boba Fett. I think, in the terms of the question, like, when are we going to see Boba throw down like he did in Mando Season 2 again? I feel like that is coming in the next episode. Next, I feel like next week we're going to get a fight sequence between Boba and some of the Pikes, or Boba and someone.
Yeah, that's my theory too. I think these last 3 episodes are going to be a lot more action packed. I mean, don't get me wrong. This episode of Book of Boba Fett, it was deeply enjoyable. I myself, I enjoyed it. That's one of the reasons why I like to have different perspectives. That's like why I like to have a broad swath and everything of people with different opinions on here. I don't want just people to agree with everything I have to say.
That's why you go on StreamYard instead of just doing Streamlabs stuff and just streaming on your own.
So, yeah, exactly. And that's why I appreciate Zach's input. That's why I appreciate your input, Josh. And, because I know not everybody's going to share the same perspective I do. And that's fine with me. I just ask that you be honest. Nothing more. So, but, honestly, I'm looking forward to this year. So far this year, Grant, we're just a few weeks into 2022, and here's the funny thing: today is 1/22/2022. Next month is going to be really interesting because it's one of those palindromes because it's 2/22/2022. It very rarely happens. It's a weird little math thing for those of us that are math geeks. I'm not really, but for me, it's just a funny little thing. But just give you all a little bit of a preview of what is coming up for the Ambassadorial Wing. Tomorrow night, I'm going to be starting a series of stream reviews with my good friend Brian Hill, the Master of None. He's been on here off and on over the last several years, ever since I met him back in 2019. And going to be doing a series of reviews on something that he loves and that I love as well. And we're going to be doing reviews for the three New Trek movies as I categorize them, and that is of course Star Trek 09, Star Trek Into Darkness, and Star Trek Beyond. So that'll of course be starting tomorrow evening. We'll be going live at 8 p.m. and everything. I know that's a little bit later than normal, but Brian's in a different time zone. I wanted to be respectful of his time frame and everything because he does work and so on. So, and I've honestly, I actually rewatched. I don't want to go into a big thing here, but I rewatched Star Trek 09 for the first time all the way through since I saw it in theaters. I was like, I forgot how much I really enjoyed this, and I look forward to that conversation with Brian. So, but also going to be doing some more retro reviews. Some will be live streams like this. Some will be uploads. And to tell you all now what I'm going to be doing. One is going to be on, for me, a true cult classic from before the 1980s, but still has very close ties to that decade. And that is, of course, The Black Hole, which for me is very much a Disney cult classic film. I know a lot of people may regard it as cringe, but me, I want to do a deep dive on it. I want to discuss it with you all and share my thoughts on why I love this movie as much as I do. Also going to be doing a review on James Cameron's The Abyss. That'll be coming up in the next few weeks and so on. So be sure to, I'll be saying out the timing on those as well. So, but yeah. I'm starting to get things lined up for this year, and I hope y'all enjoy what I'm bringing you. And we are actually closing in on 500. And when I hit 500, gonna be doing a watch party for a movie that I've been waiting to do. When I hit 500, that is of course for my for one of my all-time favorite sci-fi films of the 1990s, Galaxy Quest. So, and yes, MB Geek, Watcher in the Woods. I have heard of that one and everything. It's one I have not seen in a very long time, but I am aware of it. So, but
I'm
anyways,
definitely going to be joining you for that watch along.
Oh, Galaxy Quest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have a list of people who have said whenever you do that one, I want to be there, and well, trust me, I'll have you all here. So, because I share in my I like to share in my celebrations. I love to share in my victories because it's just not just me. It's for all of us here. So, anyways, folks, I think we're going to go and wrap up for this evening. But I want to thank you all for those of you that tuned in tonight. I hope you all enjoyed the discussion. Of course, make sure you leave your comments down below when you catch us on the replay, and if you happen to come across this stream and you're not a part of the Ambassadorial Wing and you enjoy the content I'm bringing you all each and every week, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and become a part of the Ambassadorial Wing. So, as I said, I'll be back tomorrow night with my good friend Brian Hill, the Master of None, as we begin our review series of the new Trek films and everything. And that'll be for the that'll be for the next few weeks. So, anyways, folks, you have a great night. Have a good weekend. I'll see you all tomorrow night.
Have a great evening.
Y'all have a great evening. And until next time, these are the Ambassadors. Signing off.